Hello there, I'm Martino, and today we're going to find out, is KV Mechelen worth visiting as a footy trip? We're going to mark 10 different categories, score it out of 100, and find out. So, let's do this. With day one of the trip in Bruges done and dusted and hearty breakfast inside us, we jumped on the train and headed back to Brussels with a supply of Jupiler to keep spirits high. With another train being required for our next adventure, we dropped our bags at the hotel before stopping for a quick one on the way back to the station. Lee and Dave's day got better and better as they followed their beloved leads via text, surprised with an opening day win over Wolves. Greeted by Garnet and Oliver wearing the coolest of patriotic outfits, we were back at the train station, about to embark on the famous Brussels to Mechelen train ride, following in the footsteps of those lucky passengers who were first people to experience train travel in mainland Europe some 187 years ago. After Belgium declared its independence from the Netherlands in 1830, their neighbours closed off the canals and access to Antwerp. King Leopold I then commissioned a railway to be built after being inspired by seeing the first train line in the world from Manchester to Liverpool. Further routes were added over the following years, but Mechelen has always been at the heart of the European network. Unfortunately, due to the heavy schedule, there's little time to see what Mechelen had in store other than the football. Mechelen is a relatively small city in Belgium with just 87,000 inhabitants and was once the capital of the Low Countries in the 16th century. Situated halfway between Brussels and Antwerp, it's again a Flemish-speaking city, so let's hope our accents are up to scratch now on day 2. One of the most visited sites in Mechelen highlights a very tragic side to the city's history. During the Second World War, whilst under the occupation of Nazi Germany, the Dossin barracks were used as a transit camp, for which over the course of 2 years was a point of transition for 25,000 Belgian Jews and Romani people, as they were sent to Auschwitz and other concentration and extermination camps. These horrific events are now remembered with the Holocaust Museum at the location of those barracks. Sadly, we missed out on trying the local beer, Marnibluser, moon extinguishers, a name originating from the nickname of the people of Mechelen after an incident back in 17th century, when locals tried to put out a fire in St Rumbold's Tower. On seeing the lit up smoke coming from the tower, they quickly assembled, only to realise when they reached the top that this was a moon reflecting through the fog. On arrival in the city, we set off on foot to the AFAS Stadion, the first in Belgium to cede to naming rights, but until then the 16,000-seater stadium was known, and still is by the fans, as the Achter de Kazerne, behind the garrison. Only a 30-minute walk from the station, but a slight detour can take in the picturesque Grote Market and the aforementioned Dossin barracks, if time and weather permits. In terms of the hosts themselves, KV Mechelen, another royal team founded in 1904, have a total of 4 league titles to their name, but only 2 cups. With such small numbers in more than 100 years, it may be surprised to hear they won the Cup Winners' Cup in 1988, the last Belgian team to succeed in Europe. They followed that up with a Super Cup win against PSV, and 2 years later, after winning their 4th and last league title, they made the European Cup quarter-final, only to fall to Arrigo Sacchi's Milan. Decline over the following years led to relegation due to bankruptcy in 2003, but their darkest day was yet to come. Relegated in 2017-18, they followed this up with a sensational season by winning both the Belgian Second Division and the Belgian Cup. However, it later transpired that Mechelen had been involved in a match-fixing scandal during their relegation season, thus resulting in a ban from Europe. However, upon appeal, their relegation back to the Second Division was overturned, but UEFA stuck by their decision to prevent Mechelen venturing into Europe again. After an 8th place finish last year, the opening 2 games have yielded nil points. Paired with the fact that today's opponents, the stars of last season's fairy tale story Union St Gilloise, had opened with a win and a draw, the pressure was on. The main saving grace was that this game came in between Union's 2 most important games for many years, a 2-leg playoff for Champions League football against Rangers. The first leg at home ended in a 2-0 victory, and as a result they were 1 step away from the final qualifier. Wanting to maintain their momentum, they surprisingly made few changes from the team that had played just 4 days earlier. We had a little extra riding on this game as we decided to purchase a full Mechelen team for our fantasy game so rare. Sadly, this was scuppered before kick-off due to Jordi van der Berger's absence from the matchday squad. Oh well, with scarves and fridge magnets in hand, we found our way to the very welcoming terraces, and there was no doubt we were still fully behind the mighty Heelan route. A fairly even match ensued with the odd chance for either side. However, deadlocks broken shortly before half-time as Julian Legoy won the ball back on the halfway line. Rob Schoots then drove powerfully to within 25 yards of goal before unleashing a shot. It appeared to be heading wide, but horrible deflection looped the ball over the unfortunate goalkeeper. Not that the fans cared how it went in, the atmosphere, which was already lively, ticked up a notch after the home side went in front. Another round of drinks were picked up at the interval, and I must admit the day was starting to take its toll, and the second half holds very happy but hazy memories. 6 minutes after the restart, Jeff Heremans whipped in a dangerous free kick, which again was rather fortuitously turned into their own net by Union St Gilloise. The whole crowd was now really enjoying themselves, feeling hope of their first point of the season in style. and this joy was confirmed when Heremans won the ball back on the halfway line before drilling in a pass through to Ngoy, who took one immaculate touch, then fired the ball into the bottom corner before the keeper had a chance to set himself. Beautiful, enjoy it, Lee. Take it in, take it in. Fine result for Mechelen, and the fans were sent home happy. As were we after a thoroughly enjoyable evening in amongst the terraces. So many fans willing to chat about their team and welcome the foreigners. Exactly the reason we go on these kind of trips. Certainly a ground worthy of a visit. Another train to complete our day. This time the majority was sat head in hands trying to stay composed. Apparently stayed out a little longer before calling time on day 2 of our adventure. I'll have to trust the other lads on that one as my memories faded as thoughts turned to Anderlecht. So, as I said at the start of the video, we're going to score KV Mechelen as a footy trip out of 100. So, in terms of team ability, they're generally in the lower echelons of the 13th best league in the world, so we're going to go with a 4 out of 10. In terms of atmosphere, 2/3 full and overall support was fantastic, thoroughly enjoyable environment, 7.5 out of 10. Stadium equality, it's in the heart of a residential area, recently renovated and still in good shape, aesthetically pleasing, so 7 out of 10. Beer and food at the stadium, annoying fan card again, standard Jupiler, which was decent, no queuing, allowed to drink in our seats, and circumstantial, but we were given 2 free beers, so it's got to be worth an extra half a point. So 8 out of 10. Tourism in the city has got a few historical stories, but not a huge amount of reason to visit other than the football, but pleasant city all the same. 4 out of 10. Accessibility, affordable flights to Brussels and then another half an hour on the train from there, so pretty easy. 8 out of 10. In terms of people, we stood right in the thick of the local fans and we were very nicely welcomed, even though we were a little intoxicated, so 8 out of 10. Stadium surroundings, as I say, residential area, very limited spots to drink surrounding the stadium and before and after, so only 5 out of 10. Club history, formed in 1904 with 4 league titles and 2 European titles, making the 38th most successful club in Europe, which is 1 ahead of Paris Saint-Germain. 6.5 out of 10. Ease and cost of ticket pricing, purchasing fairly straightforward, and £20 for a brilliant atmosphere was a bargain, so 8 out of 10. In total, 64 out of 100, which doesn't sound amazing, but it was a genuinely enjoyable experience, and definitely recommend it to anyone. So KV Mechelen, definitely on your list. In terms of personal milestones, not too many for me, other than doubling the amount of stadiums I've been to in Belgium, I guess. 2 out of 18 Jupiler teams now. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, take it easy.